Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys checking today's video out and spending some time with me. Really appreciate that. And guys, today I want to talk about what I consider the most overrated fishing lure, then the most underrated fishing lure in bass fishing. Sort of give you guys my reasoning behind that, and hopefully by the end of the video, it might help you guys make a better lure selection to have more productive day when you're on the water. And sitting here in the parking lot, guys, waiting to get Elijah at school. I've been so freaking busy this week. I haven't even hardly had time to do videos in the tackle room. But anyway, I was going to tell you guys, I'm getting my new boat wrapped right now as we speak. And I promise you, over the next week, I'm going to try to get out on the water and get some actual on the water videos done. So we're going to get into those actual on the water videos per your guys' request a little bit more. Okay, guys, let's talk a little bit about most overrated and underrated fishing lures out there. So first of all, let's talk about the most overrated fishing lure, in my opinion. I think out of all the lure categories out there and out of all the baits that I've fished, as far as the time that I have put into a lure versus the results and the success I've had that equates to that lure, a glide bait is absolutely the number one most overrated fishing lure out there. Now, don't get me wrong. Glide bait catches big fish, and it's super fun to fish because they look fun in the water. They look like something that's real. You get a lot of big fish looking at them. Occasionally you can catch some big fish on them. But when you talk about the terms of how many hours that I have spent casting a glide bait versus actually how many bass that I have put in the boat with a glide bait, it is absolutely the most poorest performing lure in my tackle box by sure. Now, it's situational, and I still throw them, and I still will continue to throw them, but I think it's just one of the most overrated lures out there. Sort of one of those deals out there. It's when you talk about some lures being situational and other lures being non-situational and work all the time, I think the glide bait is on the very far of the most situationally specific lure. You got to have the right conditions. You have to have the right weather conditions. The bass have to be in the exact right frame of mind and mood and personality to get it. And like I said, it can be super fun or super, frustrating to fish. And I think that this is probably going to get worse and worse as time goes on, because glide bait fishing is for aggressive bass that are not very heavily pressured. And as more fishing pressure gets on the lake and the fish get more educated to baits and wiser, I just think that the overall success rate of the glide baits, you're going to see them go downhill consistently every year. And there's going to be little bitty windows that open up occasionally that where they can't excel, but those windows are closing in and getting smaller all the time. Now, the most underrated lure, as far as bass fishing lures, in my opinion, of the whole time, people talking about this, you hear people talking about the best bass fishing lures, where you like, chatterbaits and flukes and square bill crankbaits and, all that type of stuff. But guys, without a doubt, the most bass and the easiest for me to get bit on, and the one that hardly ever lets me down, and if I get a bite on it, it's coming into the boat, is a shaky head. Shaky head is a deadly bass fishing lure, and I never really understood the appeal to the extent, because I fished straight-tailed worms for years and on a jig head both before I started using a shaky head. Basically, a shaky head presentation is the same as a Texas rig worm or a jig head setup, which has been forever. But there's something about the look of a shaky head when you rig it in shaky head style on a straight-tailed worm that the bass react to it 100 times more than they do a Texas rig or a jig head worm. And I remember when a shaky head first got started out, guys, I've been doing this for a long time, and my buddy Aaron Martins was always telling me, because he was one of the guys that first started using it from, California, that and a drop shot both. And he always would tell me, he goes, Randy, you need to throw that shaky head more. I'm telling you, you need to throw it. And he'd be throwing it all the time with his little robo worm on it. And I finally started using it more. And guys, it's probably the number one easiest lure to get bit on in any lake out there. It works in any water clarity. I've caught them on it I've caught bass on a shaky head in 6 inches of visibility or 30 foot of visibility and everything in between. It works on sunny days. It works on cloudy days. It works when the water's cold. It works when the water's hot. It works on largemouth, smallmouth, Kentucky bass. It works everywhere. There's not any place in the country that you cannot catch them on a shaky head. So even though shaky head is a well-known lure, I just don't think it gets the credit for how incredible of a bait it is. And you can adjust it a lot. You can use a little 4-inch worm on it. You can use a 6-inch worm. You can use a 7-inch worm. You can get those Magnum shaky heads where the guys put like the 3/4 ounce shaky heads on a 10-inch worm. But it's a bass catching lure. So my advice, start throwing a shaky head more and a glide bait less. I'm not telling you to not throw a glide bait, because they're really fun to fish and you can catch some nice fish on them occasionally. But those are my two most overrated and underrated by far. So anyway, guys, hope it helps out. And also, guys, a big thank you out there real quick. I just wanted to follow up. Thank you very much for all you guys out there that have been using and bookmarking my Tackle Warehouse link I put in the description. Big thank you for my family. You guys are the reason that I keep doing these YouTube videos and the reason YouTube's on for using those links. So really appreciate that. And I'll talk to you guys later.